Well, North Korea has launched a long-range rocket into space in defiance of widespread international criticism that it's developing a ballistic missile program. The United States says the launch is a highly provocative act that threatens regional security. Satellite pictures here captured preparations for the launch on Monday. A similar launch in April ended in failure minutes later. North Korea is banned from conducting missile tests under UN sanctions.
Well, what we know, Joe, is at about 8 minutes to 10 local time, North Korea did launch this rocket. It caught everyone by surprise because satellite photographs had suggested yesterday that the rocket was being dismantled off the launch pad because there was a technical problem. It was being taken to some sort of facility nearby where it was going to be fixed. And then all of a sudden we had the Japanese, the South Koreans make an urgent announcement that this rocket had been launched. What we do know then is that the first stage of the rocket, we believed, did splash down in the East China Sea, as planned. We are now getting reports that another stage of the rocket has splashed down east of the Philippines, about 300 kilometres east of the Philippines in the Pacific, although there are conflicting reports now that that could have been the entire rocket itself. So we're waiting to hear whether the rocket has still been flying or whether it is at the bottom of the Pacific.
And there's a chance it could still be in the air if that was only a stage of it, the second stage of it that fell off.
One US official says a working assumption is that Iran provided outside help. The US, South Korea, Japan and the UK have all condemned the launch, and the UN Security Council will meet today to discuss the matter. The official announcement was made during a special report on state media.
The second version of satellite Kwangmyongsong-3 successfully lifted off from the Sohae Space Center in Chollsan County, North Pyongan Province by carrier rocket Unha-3 on Wednesday. I'll repeat again. On December 12th, the second version of satellite Kwangmyongsong-3 successfully lifted off from the Sohae Space Center in Chollsan County, North Pyongan Province by carrier rocket Unha-3 on Wednesday.
Japan confirmed the rocket had flown over Okinawa Island, but said that its second stage had fallen into the sea some 300 kilometres east of the Philippines. Both South Korea and Japan immediately called meetings of their top security councils, warning they could not tolerate such action. A similar rocket launch last April was aborted after less than 2 minutes' flight. Pyongyang denies it's trying to develop technology to carry atomic warheads. North Korea is banned from conducting missile and nuclear-related tests under UN sanctions imposed after its 2006 and 2009 attempts.
No footage has yet been released of today's launch. These were the preparations for an identical attempt in April. Then the rocket disintegrated after just 80 seconds. This time, even without the release of pictures, intelligence from the Americans, the Japanese and the South Koreans all supports Pyongyang's claim that this launch was successful. As they did here, the North Koreans insist that the rocket is carrying a satellite and that all this is part of a peaceful space program. The West simply doesn't buy that. They're convinced that all these launches are tests of a ballistic missile program, a direct violation of UN resolutions. The worry is this: if Pyongyang can launch one of these with a satellite in its tip, could they replace that with a nuclear weapon? They've certainly conducted several underground nuclear tests recently. The intentions of this country's young and inexperienced leader are a mystery. His people, or at least those we're allowed to see, worship him as they did his father. Kim Jong-il died almost exactly a year ago. Today's launch will now be used to commemorate him and to bolster the leadership of his son.
No, lots and lots of reaction coming out this morning. The South Korean foreign minister has described this launch as a challenge and a threat to global peace. And we've just heard, in fact, the first reports coming out of the US, observers there who apparently are saying that they concur that this satellite launch was indeed successful. The rocket did enter orbit. And you mentioned there the consequences that we've heard from the White House. That's going to have an impact on what happens next.
We strongly requested them not to go through with their launch. The fact that they did is extremely regrettable and not something Japan can accept.
This is the second successful rocket launch since Kim Jong-un became leader of North Korea a year ago. These satellite pictures show Sohai Space Center, the site of Wednesday's takeoff. Japan then claimed the rocket broke into 3 pieces, one of which travelled over but didn't land on Okinawa Island.